Trump didn't just topple a dictator. He reached into another country, grabbed its president, and told the world, America is in charge now.
Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice.
In the dim glow of a Manhattan courtroom on a crisp January morning, Nicolas Maduro, once the iron-fisted ruler of Venezuela, a man who had dodged international sanctions and outmaneuvered political rivals for over a decade, stood shackled before a federal judge. His face, etched with defiance and exhaustion, bore the marks of a midnight raid that had upended a nation. "I am innocent," he declared, his voice echoing through the chamber like a distant thunderclap. "I was kidnapped."
Speaking in Spanish, he insisted that he is still the president of his country, complained that he had been kidnapped by the United States, and described himself as a prisoner of war.
It was a scene straight out of a geopolitical thriller, but this was no fiction. Just days earlier, on January 3rd, 2026, U.S. forces had stormed Caracas in a daring operation dubbed Absolute Resolve, capturing Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, in a move that shocked the world. President Donald J. Trump, back in the White House after his 2024 victory, had made good on years of threats. But why now? Why this audacious strike? The answers lie in a tangled web of drug wars, migration crises, personal vendettas, and a bold vision for American dominance in the hemisphere. The tension had been building for years, like a storm gathering over the Caribbean Sea. Maduro's regime, propped up by oil wealth in its heyday, had crumbled into a humanitarian catastrophe. Hyperinflation ravaged savings, food shortages left families scavenging, and political repression silenced dissent with brutal efficiency. Millions fled, crossing borders into Colombia, Brazil, and beyond. Their stories a litany of loss. Take Maria Gonzalez, a 42-year-old teacher from Maracaibo, who trekked through jungles with her 2 children in 2023, escaping gangs loyal to Maduro's colectivos. "We had nothing left," she told reporters last week from a refugee camp in Bogota. "Maduro stole our future." Such tales fueled the emotional undercurrent of Trump's decision, framing Maduro not just as a political adversary, but as a monster whose grip on power inflicted daily suffering on innocents. Yet the path to capture was paved with calculated escalations. Trump's first term had seen indictments against Maduro in 2020, charging him with narco-terrorism, cocaine importation, and possession of machine guns. Accusations that painted him as the head of the Cartel de los Sol, a shadowy network allegedly flooding the U.S. with drugs. Back then, a $15 million bounty hung over his head, but enforcement lagged under subsequent administrations. By 2025, with Trump eyeing a return to power, the rhetoric sharpened. U.S. naval patrols intensified in the Caribbean, ostensibly to curb drug trafficking, but whispers in Washington suggested a broader agenda. Tensions peaked last summer when Trump authorized strikes on Venezuelan boats suspected of smuggling narcotics, killing dozens and drawing international condemnation. Maduro responded with fiery speeches, vowing to resist Yankee imperialism, while quietly seeking exile options through back channels in Russia and the Vatican. As the clock ticked toward 2026, the suspense mounted. Intelligence reports painted a picture of a weakening Maduro, allies defecting, protests simmering, and foreign backers like Russia and China distracted by their own crises. Trump, ever the showman, seized the moment. In a private call just before the raid, he reportedly gave Maduro one final ultimatum: step down or face the consequences. Maduro refused, sealing his fate. The operation unfolded with precision, a CIA-led team, steel resolve, and special forces descending under cover of darkness. Explosions rocked Caracas. Resistance from Maduro's guards led to about 75 deaths, including Venezuelans and Cubans. By dawn, Maduro was aboard the USS Iwo Jima, blindfolded and handcuffed, as Trump triumphantly posted the image on Truth Social. The world held its breath. Would this spark a wider conflict? Russia seized tankers in retaliation. China amplified disinformation campaigns. To understand why Trump targeted Maduro, one must delve into the Venezuelan leader's rise and the U.S.'s long-standing grievances. Maduro inherited the mantle from Hugo Chavez in 2013, promising to continue the socialist Bolivarian revolution. But where Chavez had charisma and oil booms to fund populism, Maduro faced plummeting prices and mismanagement that plunged Venezuela into chaos. By 2019, the U.S. recognized opposition leader Juan Guaido as interim president, imposing sanctions that crippled the economy further. Maduro clung on, rigging elections and cracking down on protest, leading to accusations of crimes against humanity. Emotionally, this era scarred a generation. Families like the Rodriguezes in Caracas watched loved ones disappear into prisons. Elena Rodriguez, a 28-year-old activist, recounted to The Guardian how her brother was tortured for protesting in 2024. He came back broken, whispering about the regime's dungeons. Maduro didn't just rule, he terrorized. Such human rights abuses provided moral cover for Trump's intervention, echoing The Guardian's framing of global injustices through personal lenses. Trump framed it as a rescue mission, tying Maduro's rule to the opioid crisis in America. "He's poisoning our kids," he said in a Mar-a-Lago press conference. Data backed this. Venezuela under Maduro became a hub for cocaine transshipment, with U.S. overdoses linked to South American cartels. Building tension, Trump's administration escalated from diplomacy to force. In 2025, as migration surged at the U.S. border, many Venezuelans among them, Trump accused Maduro of exporting criminals. This narrative resonated with his base, turning a foreign policy gambit into domestic politics. Critics, however, saw hypocrisy. Trump pardoned a former Honduran president on similar drug charges while pursuing Maduro relentlessly.
Pardon drawing harsh criticisms on both sides of the aisle as tensions continue to ramp up between the U.S. and Venezuela, specifically its leader, Nicolas Maduro, who Trump has accused of leading a drug cartel. Republican Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana posting on X, "Why would we want to pardon this guy and then go after Maduro for running drugs into the United States? Lock up every drug runner. Don't understand why he is being pardoned." Democratic Virginia Senator Tim Kaine had this to say on CBS's Face the Nation.
He was the leader of one of the largest criminal enterprises that has ever been subject to a conviction in U.S. courts. And less than 1 year into a sentence, President Trump is pardoning him, suggesting that President Trump cares nothing about narco-trafficking.
At the heart of Trump's rationale lies a legal fig leaf, the 2020 indictment. Prosecutors allege Maduro conspired with the FARC to flood the U.S. with 200 tons of cocaine annually, using drug profits to fund his regime. Secretary of State Marco Rubio described the raid as a law enforcement operation, not war. But skeptics, including international lawyers, argued it violated sovereignty, likening it to the 1989 invasion of Panama to capture Manuel Noriega. Emotionally framing this, The Guardian highlighted the human cost. While opponents celebrated, paramilitaries loyal to Maduro roamed streets, prompting U.S. advisories for citizens to flee. In Nicaragua, dozens were arrested for supporting the raid, amplifying fears of regional backlash. Trump, undeterred, boasted of running Venezuela properly, suggesting U.S. oversight for years, a neo-colonial echo that stirred unease even among allies. The Atlantic's analytical lens reveals strategic layers. Trump broke with his isolationist rhetoric, acting as world's policeman to score a win amid domestic challenges. It distracted from economic woes and unified Republicans. Yet risks loomed. Russia's tanker seizures escalated tensions, and AI deepfakes of Maduro sowed discord online. Tension peaked in the raid itself. U.S. forces struck pre-dawn, targeting Maduro's compound with minimal warning to Congress, fearing leaks. The death toll, around 75, drew parallels to Iraq, with critics decrying hypocrisy. Maduro's arraignment, pleading not guilty while claiming kidnapping, humanized the dictator for some, but for Venezuelans like Gonzalez, it was justice delayed. Trump's justifications evolved, from drugs to democracy, though he slow-walked elections, wary of leftist victories. He threatened Maduro's successor, Delcy Rodriguez, with worse fates. Post-capture, Venezuela teeters. Protests erupt, both celebratory and defiant. U.S. oversight raises sovereignty questions, with Colombia's Petro resisting similar fates. Emotionally, it's a catharsis for exiles, but a trauma for loyalists. Why did Trump do it? A mix of vengeance, strategy, and opportunism. Maduro symbolized failed socialism. Capturing him bolstered Trump's legacy. But as The Atlantic warns, this isn't five-dimensional chess. It's messy, with unintended consequences. In the end, Maduro's fall underscores America's enduring interventionism. For Trump, it was a triumph. For the world, a reminder of power's perils. As Maria Gonzalez watches from afar, hoping for a rebuilt home, the question lingers. Was it worth the cost?